Welcome back to our intermediate financial accounting class. In this segment, we get to wrap up our discussion of the Accounting Standards Codification, or ASC. In previous sections, we've talked about FASB and its website and all the information that it provides and the public versus paid for version of the ASC. We've also talked about using FASB's logic to walk through the codification and find the actual rule that you're looking for. In this section, we're going to look at a not as useful tool, but one that you should still be familiar with, especially as you're just getting used to FASB's logic, and that is the search feature. So let's go back to the ASC and jump into our discussion. FASB includes a search option in the ASC. It's not as effective or efficient as walking through FASB's logic, but it can work, especially when you're not 100% sure. Is the asset the main piece? Is the liability the main piece? Is the expense the main piece? I don't know where the main piece is. It looks like I should be able to click right here, but I can't. Instead, FASB brings up this other search box, and I'm going to type in finance lease. And before I even hit search, FASB brings up some quick hints in case I want to go back to the better way of searching, which is their logic. It gives me a push in the right direction. So you can see some sections that might be applicable, some topics that might be applicable. There are some specific terms in the glossary that I might want to go to and use. And then it takes me to the lease standards that have been published. So I could actually go back and look, if I wanted to, at the accounting standards update. And you can actually download the updates from here. If you don't want to use the codification, you want to see the actual rule. Now, unfortunately, I can't just go back. If you hit the back button, it will take you to the last thing you searched for. It won't take you to your search. So I'm going to hit this button and do it again. Finance lease. And I know from both our study of leases as well as these other sources right here that they're actually in topic 842. That's where I want to be. You'll notice FASB doesn't actually provide that here. It's actually got links to 840 leases. 840, that's the old set of rules, which means that none of these quick links are going to do me any good unless I want to see the actual standard, which I don't. So instead, I'm going to have to hit show all results. What's going to come up are 36, in this case, specific sections that mention finance lease. And you can see right up here, it tells me I'm in the broad transaction category, 842 leases. That's the new one. That's good. Lessee accounting. 840, that's the old rule, capital leases, sale of financial assets. I can actually do quite a bit of searching right here that would allow me to move pretty quick if I wanted to and find the rule. That's if I use something specific like finance leases. Let's try again with something like accounts receivable. Notice there's 258 results in 136 different sections of GAAP. I can't scroll through that like I could with finance leases. There are only 30 some odd sections. I could find those. This is a lot to wade through, and this is where it's not as useful often to use the search term as it is to use the logic, because it just doesn't provide me with a step-by-step way of getting to the right place. But it does provide some tools. Perhaps the most useful set of tools are actually here on the right. So I can break down my results and say, you know what, I don't want to see SEC rules. I only want to see FASB's rules. And then I can start breaking it down. Are you looking for broad transactions, assets, specific industry rules? These are categories, and you can use the categories to help you find what it is about receivables that you're interested in. Well, I'm looking specifically in assets because I just want to see the general rules for showing receivables. Now that I've narrowed it down by category, I can narrow it down by topic. Well, I'm not looking for property, plant, and equipment. I'm looking for receivables. So let me narrow it again. And you'll see, when I do that, you'll notice I've gone from 37 sections down to 29 sections. Now this is better, and I could scroll through those 30-ish sections and find what I'm looking for. Let's say I wanted to find out the rules for bad receivables. And I guess my best option is going to be going here to troubled debt restructurings by creditors. And I want to point out a last couple of tools, because usually when we use the search term, we won't find the exact right area the first time. Often using FASB's logic, you won't find it the exact first time. you'll have to move around a little bit and search in different places. So what this has brought me to is 65, the transition date. That's not what I want. I want the rules. If I go down here to the bottom of the screen, you'll notice there's my category, topic, subtopic, section. I can click back here and it will bring me, without having to go through all the logic again, bring me to the main page. And if I'm looking at trouble debt restructurings, I can go into recognition and figure out when I need to do this. And notice it still doesn't tell me what I need to know. I want to know when I need to do it. It hasn't shown me that. So let's go back. Maybe I can find it with initial measurement. Nope. But it does provide me with an opportunity to show you one other thing, and that is this rule is being changed. And you can see that here. It's highlighted in yellow that they have a new rule. Accounting Standards Update 22-2 is going to supersede this. The transition date for publicly traded companies, that's the P, is for any financial statement issued after December 16th, 2022. And the N means non-publicly traded companies, so private companies. And they have to transition on the same date in this case. So this is transitioning right now, which is why the old rule is gone. If the old rule is still applicable for a little while, then you'd actually see the rule right here. So apparently they've gotten rid of this, and I would need to go here to see what they're doing with it. And it would explain what they're doing with it and why and how, etc. Now, this was a great example because I didn't find what I needed. So let's try it the other way. I'm going to go into receivables. Let's see. Non-refundable fees, loans and debts acquired, trouble debt restructuring. I just want some overall rules. And if I'm looking for overall rules on bad debt, that isn't going to happen when I recognize it or when I initially measure it. It's going to happen subsequently. And there, right here, are the impairment of loans and receivables. And I've got the whole section. Impairment of receivables, applicability, losses from uncollectible receivables. Here are the rules that I would use in order to find out what I need to do. Key ideas to take out of this. Not key concepts, they're not testable that way. But I just want you to know, overall, remember, there is a search feature. It can work and lead you to the right section. But even when you get to the right section, you'll often have to say, okay, now that I'm in the general area, let me use FASB's logic and see if I can't find the best place to be to find what I'm looking for. So the very best way you can search the Accounting Standards Codification is to use our stop and think method to think like FASB. And once you can get the hang of that, you'll be in good shape. The other thing that you need to be aware of using the ASC is remembering the ASC is written in legalistic terms. And the only way to get comfortable with that is to play around with it. So find a rule from your discussions of intermediate accounting, one of our videos or something else you've looked at in your textbook, and say, can I get to what I know the rule is from our discussion, and can I understand what FASB is saying that leads us to that rule? And if you'll do that a couple of times, and hopefully in some of our classroom activities we'll get there, you'll be able to start feeling much more comfortable with the ASC. Remember, the ASC is an essential skill. We need to be comfortable with it, not only as students, but for the CPA exam and in practice, whether you're a CPA performing an audit or a CPA or CMA or other internal accountant working for a company trying to figure out how our company should report a given situation. You're going to need to be comfortable with the ASC. Crucial skills to know, and hopefully now you feel comfortable with it. I'll see you next time. Thanks.